Weekend, the time for a special happening in the middle of the United States, the Indianapolis 500. On a day that dawned with an overcast, haze, and high humidity, as many as 300,000 people have come again to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It happens so often now, it's like a pilgrimage to a pinnacle in motorsports. This is the 59th gathering for the event. The total dimension of it is awesome. The flavor of it memorable even before the race begins. Jim Neighbor is on the track now to join with the Purdue University Marching Band. And for a moment, we will all be back home again in Indiana.
Home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new moon sends all its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home.
And the skies over the Indianapolis Motor Speedway filled with thousands of balloons as the drivers head for their 33 cars. And actor Jim Garner will go to the wheel of the pace car. He'll pace the field through the first parade laps at 80 miles an hour.
Hello, everybody. I'm Keith Jackson. These moments before the start of an Indianapolis 500, they're special kind of moments. Kind of an ultimate in anticipation. It is a hot, humid day, as it usually is in late May in Indiana. And the heat will be a common adversary for everybody trying to run a race car fast today. In the 33-car starting field, there are 6 former winners. There are only 4 rookies, but all those rookies are rich in experience from other racetracks. This starting field qualified at better than 185 miles an hour collectively, which makes it one of the fastest fields ever. And the roar from the start of an Indianapolis 500 is indeed heard round the world. And to amplify on that point, let's turn to our colleague, an expert commentator for our coverage of the Indianapolis 500, former world champion racing driver Jackie Stewart.
Well, Keith, in the whole world, there's perhaps only a handful of truly great events. And here at Indianapolis, this is certainly one of them, because in every city of the world, in every corner of the world, they know that the Indy 500 is taking place today. And these drivers down there, they know also, because there are 33 of them facing an enormous crowd, perhaps the biggest motor race in the whole world.
You and I, sitting here, we feel the tension, but nothing like the tension that is felt along that starting grid.
Keith, I can remember when I came out of Gasoline Alley and was faced by this enormous crowd. What a shock it was. It was a system shock like I've never received before. You're just faced with this multitude of people. Your nerves, you start to shake perhaps. Your whole system goes. You can see the drivers pulling on their flame-proof balaclavas in the case of fire, the same with their gloves to give full protection. These men at this time are going through emotions like most people never experience. They don't know what the day is going to bring. There are 33 of them, and surely there will be accidents today. They know that. They know it's a calculated risk, but they're great men.
The old racetrack, it too is one of a kind.
Yes, the Indy 500 is running a 2.5-mile oval. It looks as if it's simply 4 easy corners, but this is not the case. It is 2.5 miles round, and it's got a 9-degree banking in all 4 turns. But it's not that simple, because each one of them have truly a character of their own, a personality of their own. Turn 1 is certainly different from turn 3 that looks to be the same. From the start-finishing line that you can see there, this narrow strip of brick, you go in to turn 1, and you're faced with these enormous faces of people as you go through the short chute to turn 2, and this is an important turn because you must go cleanly down the back straight to turn 3 that you enter at very high speed. Again, you go along until you get to turn 4 where you can enter the pits or go down to the start-finishing line that we see there. From a driver's point of view, of course, it's a big thrill. That turn 1 as you enter there with the grandstands in front of you and the wall on the outside, you go high on the racetrack into turn 2 along the short chute before you commit yourself to this corner. This one you must do correctly. The wind affects you sometime in this corner, but you must get down that back straightaway as quickly as possible. This gives a driver the opportunity to perhaps look in his mirror, to check his gauges, his tyres in the mirror, just in case he can see a puncture. And of course, they enter turn 3 at an incredibly high speed, around 215 or 220 miles an hour, a little bit bumpy in the middle, as the car goes very high and very close to the wall in the short chute before you get to turn 4. And this is a corner that causes enormous amount of trouble in Indianapolis. There's been so many accidents here. The car seems to get loose and the wall seems to loom up to you as you go down that back straightaway, and you get into, again, around 220 miles an hour before you're faced with this narrow tunnel of vision that you see with the spectators on both sides of you. What a racetrack. What an emotional feat, even, just to get round here at the high speeds that they do.
And coming off that start, it's a time of trust, faith, and luck.
Yes, there are 33 men packed into a very small space at very high speed. The talents of the drivers here, they've trained for a whole month, and of course this is their very, very big day.
Tony Holman bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1945 from Eddie Rickenbacker and Associates. Since 1946, Tony Holman has conducted one of the most dramatic moments in sports anywhere, like this.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
And thus, the turbocharged power plants of 33 racing cars thunder into action. Wally Dallenbach will be sitting way back in the pack. He qualified at 190 miles an hour. He will be a man to watch. Wally Dallenbach sitting well back on the outside of the 7th row. He figures to make an early move. Just a moment to remind you, they are limited to 280 gallons of fuel. The cars have 40-gallon tanks on the inside, away from the outside wall. They must get 1.8 miles per gallon minimum in order to be able to run 500 miles. And on a hot day, that can be a very big problem. So now the field will start moving away as we continue our coverage of the Indy 500. When a man becomes one of a kind in his profession, he is indeed a special man. In an earlier recorded conversation, A.J. Foyt reflected on it with Jackie Stewart.
3 past victories and the possibility of a 4th victory. Is this particular 500 the most important race you've ever run?
Well, it really is, Jackie. Naturally, you know, I've always felt that records are made to be broken, and long as I continue to race, I want to win and set all the records I possibly can. And I've always felt the day that I lose that drive, then I will hang it up and quit racing. But it's a very important race in my life. I've got the first time an opportunity to become the only man to ever win Indianapolis at the present time 4 times, and that's a goal that I'd like to achieve if I possibly could.
Also with us for our coverage of this 59th Indianapolis 500 today, racing driver Sam Posey, who's tasted the thrill of this competition. Chris Economaki, the editor and publisher of National Speed Sport News, they'll be along pit road. At this moment, in the pace car, our colleague Chris Schenkel. Let's join him.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the pace lap here at Indy. We're now driving through the short chute between turns 1 and 2. There are 325 horsepower Buick pace car driven by Jim Garner. In the right seat and standing up now, that is the 1960 winner, Jim Rathman, in radio contact with Chief Steward Tom Benford. This is the last lap that the pace car will be on the track. The parade lap has been completed, and you see the starting grid now for row 4, Jimmy Carruthers, Al Unser, and we now get a look at the tremendous crowd that is here today, being enjoyed, of course, by Tony Holman in his 30th year at the Speedway in the back seat with me, along with George Algis. We watched the millions of dollars of gleaming, screaming machines, and perhaps the largest crowd ever here at Indy. Well, we're moments away now from the most exhilarating sound in sports. We'll be back for it in a moment. And now we're near the end of the pace lap, and there in the middle of the front row, that is the 1973 winner, Gordon Johncock, who had a little trouble getting going with some last-minute instructions. Now he's ready, and here's Keith Jackson.
Chris, there is a story I think that we should develop at this point and get some comments from Jackie Stewart on Pancho Carter, his crew chief and the crew working around the clock since Pancho wrecked his car at the close of carburation tests the other day on Thursday. They finished repairs on the car at 10 minutes after 8 this morning. He is sitting on the field in his proper position, and the car seems to be functioning all right. He is, however, sitting right in front of a Charger, Wally Dallenbach. Dallenbach is in row 7 outside. Wayne Carter is in row 6 outside. And then farther back is another Charger in row 9 outside, Mario Andretti. And those will be people to watch as they work their way around.
For for Pancho Carter, it's really a problem because Pancho Carter's got a situation where he's never driven this car since he had a very big accident with it in the last few moments of carburation tests, and he's never driven this car since. It must be a very nerve-wracking moment.
It is obvious to you that it is very hazy on this day for this 59th Indianapolis 500, and there's the man we're talking about, Pancho Carter. The car has not been run at all since it was repaired. He's moving it around quite a bit, as you see, getting the feel of it, heating up the tires, and the massive crowd. And horrendous crowd again, if you want to use that particular adjective, but the size of it boggles your mind. Jim Garner bringing the pace car around with Jim Rathman sitting alongside of him as they come wheeling down. The clue will be as to what action is taken by the pace car. It's coming down off the racetrack and on the pit road. Pat Badan, the starter now, will hold the flags and watch the field. If those veterans up front, Boyd, John Cock and Unser, hold them in proper starting position, we'll get a green right now, and we're racing in Indianapolis. It is John Cock jumping for the lead, and he's got it. Gordon John Cock goes for and gets the lead. They string out going into turn number one, and so far the start is entirely sanitary, and they are clean. The entirety of the field through turn number one. A.J. Ford is winning in the number two position, but it was John Cock who jumped for and got the lead in the middle of the pack. Jackie looked pretty good too.
Yes, that looked pretty clean back there. There was one car that went slowly as they started. I wasn't sure exactly who it was. I thought, in fact, it was Salt Walters who had a difficult start, but Unser now in third position. Keith, it's fairly clean, but look at that car streak away there. It's got a positive advantage at this time as they come back on.
Gordon John Cock, A.J. Boyd, and Bobby Unser, the front row, running 1, 2, 3. And it's John Cock, Boyd, Unser. Lloyd Ruby and Johnny Rutherford jumps into the number 4 position with Ruby falling back just 5. So Rutherford makes a bold move on the front straight. And the defending champion now sitting comfortably in the number 4 position.
But look what a lead this man, this front man, Gordon John Cock's got. He's really pulled out the strings. He is a charger. Gordon John Cock's the type of man who's expected to do this sort of performance. I think A.J. Ford's certainly not going to try and challenge him too hard at this time because it's a long race. 500 miles is a long way to go. But Gordon John Cock, my goodness, what a lead he's got at this time.
It is a light car. Everything is about 7/8 the size previously, and Salt Walter in car number 77 is the first man to hit pit road. Salt Walter is in the pits. And Gordon John Cock continues to build his lead with Ford second, Unser third, Rutherford 4, and Ruby 5. And Salt Walter expressing anger in the pits.
Well, he had trouble at the start. I did see him drop back there, Keith. It was obviously a problem because he raised his hand and started to decelerate as they went into turn 1, a problem that he must have been very nervous about because, my goodness, think of the accident that he had only 2 years ago in this very same start.
George Bignotti, the sin-masked Wildcat, carefully prepared, delicately built, and being driven very boldly right now by Gordon John Cock, who won the rain-shortened race here in 1973. It is a little smaller than most of the cars on the racetrack. And it is John Cock leading the field. Boyd is second, Unser is third, Rutherford 4, Ruby running 5. And it's Tom Stevens 6, and Billy Lukovich is running in the number 7 position.
Back in 12th place is Wally Dollenbach, who we expected to also charge. He's a teammate of Gordon John Cox, prepared by the same mechanic, George Bignotti, and he's in 12th position right now. He's not obviously charging too hard. But again, you see the big lead here, and there's Salt Walters. What a disappointment. Even as the track, as the race started, he was in trouble.
And so we're off to a clean and flying start in this 59th Indianapolis 500. And the only record anyone wants to see broken here today is to run the race in less than 3 hours. That means it'll be a clean race from start to finish. We'll have more of the Indy 500 in a moment. And we're back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as Gordon John Cock now is being pushed a little bit by A.J. Ford, Bobby Unser, Johnny Rutherford, Lloyd Ruby in that order. The day not quite as hot as we might have anticipated, though it is very, very humid. And you can see now that A.J. Ford has moved into massage Gordon John Cock, and that's Lloyd Ruby dropping down out of the groove and off the racetrack. Lloyd Ruby, who has been so close to success so many times, here in Indianapolis is in trouble again.
what a disappointment it must be for him. He's obviously in communication with his pit. He's got Denny Holman, ex-world champion, in the pits there, so they'll be knowing what the trouble is. But they're your two leaders, and A.J. Foyt is definitely closing in Gordon Johncock. He looks as if he's going to make for a pass, Keith, but it seems to me that he's not really catching Johncock. It's Johncock that's slowing down because the other cars are coming up on him as well.
Remember, as we detailed at the very beginning, fuel consumption will be so important. It might be that Gordon wanted to run very hard for a while and then ease off a little bit. Here comes Lloyd Ruby now, coasting, if you will, into the pits, and back on the racetrack. It is A.J. Foyt taking the lead over Gordon Johncock. So, the new number 14, the Coyote Foyt, has the lead in Indy, and that brings the massive crowd up roaring.
This is a car that I think everyone's wanting to see take the lead because, my goodness, if he gets 4, it's absolutely fantastic. This would be a great day for him. The eyes of motor racing are on him.
They're working on the car. What happens at the pits? Well, here's a demonstration recorded earlier.
You're watching the coordinated efforts of the 5 men who are allowed over the pit wall during a stop at Indianapolis here. Those 5 men are really trained. Just as a football team practices, so does a pit crew. And of course, economy and motion is the important thing that they've got to look after because speed is very expensive when an Indy stop comes. You can see the car coming in here. The man with that pipe is, of course, the fuel. It's alcohol fuel. That's an overflow bag, just in case of spillage. The quick lift jack goes underneath the car and lifts the car up. The rear wheel is being removed by an air gauge, an air gun there, as the other one gets slipped back on. Now, of course, remember, they're working with very hot pieces of equipment. The car's been racing. The front wheel has now been changed again with the same air gun. The new wheel gets put on and tightened up. This is, of course, a good thing because it avoids the human error. Now a man is ready to push the car out. Again, it's economy and motion is to push the car away. Now the car's come in. You can see the clock has started as this whole manoeuvre takes place. Just think that in 1 second wasted in the pits, 80 yards is lost. Almost the length of an American football field is being lost if they lose 1 second in time. Valuable time at Indianapolis as they push this car away in 18.1 seconds.
That earlier demonstration, of course, is when things are routine. Gordon Johncock is now in the pits, and this is not a routine stop for Gordon Johncock. There is something wrong with his car.
Yes, it looks like they're in trouble. He's looking down there. The boys are working at it. This isn't a pretty sight for him. And there the McLaren, the number 7 McLaren of Lloyd Ruby's being pushed away, Keith.
Back on the racetrack with Gordon Johncock having trouble in the pits. Everybody moves up. A.J. Foyt, Johnny Rutherford now running second. Bobby Unser moves into the number 3 position. Then will come Wally Dallenbach, who has made a remarkable move through the field. We knew he would be very fast, and he's driving a car that is very similar to the one being driven by Gordon Johncock. Gordon having trouble with his early in the race, but not so with Dallenbach. And here is Tom Sneva in the pits, driving the Penske number 68. And they continue to work on the Johncock car.
Yeah, they're spending a lot of time in that car. It doesn't look healthy, and George McNaughty and his team are very experienced indeed, but I'm afraid this is not a healthy sight for Gordon Johncock. I'm afraid it can't be good news.
This consistently one of the fastest during the practice time before the Indy 500. Qualified in the number 2 position, Tom Sneva clears out the pits. He's in good shape and on his way down pit road. The Indianapolis 500. And the leader right now is A.J. Foyt, followed by Johnny Rutherford, Bobby Unser, and Wally Dallenbach. And Billy Vukovich is another who has moved up through the field to be in a contending position. Al Unser has also made a move, and Johnny Parsons, driving car number 93, has moved well up through the pack. And Bobby Allison will be running in 9th or 10th position as he and Mosley joust a little bit. But the leader is A.J. Foyt right now, the man who wants to win this race for a 4th time. 1975 has been quite a story already for A.J. as he won twice out in California, won a 100-miler and a 500-miler. So Foyt is leading, Rutherford is chasing, and we'll be back as Gordon Johncock heads for the pit, disconfident. A.J. Foyt continues your leader with Johnny Rutherford second, followed by Unser, Dallenbach, Vukovich. Then you've got Al Unser in there. And it is now confirmed that Gordon Johncock, the man who came from the middle position of the lead row to take the lead, has now expired and is out of the race. And here is Chris Economaki with Gordy.
Gordon, it's a tough break to go out so early. What do you feel at a moment like this? Well, it's really disappointing, Chris, you know. I went out and led the race to start with and could have kept on continual leading if I wanted to. I the boost back, to save for my fuel for the end of the race, so we could run with him at any time. Well,
continues to lead with Rutherford, who won this race in 1974. And Mario Andretti in car number 21 is in the pits, and they're fussing with it. Mario clapping his hands, telling his crew something, frustrated obviously.
Yeah, talking about the handling as well, I noticed them gesturing in a way that would normally mean the car wasn't handling to his liking. He's going out the pits very slowly. He's still got his visor up there. You can see the driver with the visor up, but he's going very slowly out of the pits.
And the pace continues heavy on the racetrack. Cars are swung out, running in fine style, and Salt Walter now has exited from 77. That car is gone, and Bob Harkey has moved out of car number 33 now, and Walter will replace Harkey in car number 33. Walter started in 77. 77 is out. But remember Salt Walter 1973 on the start. See the tangle, the car, the fuel spewing into the crowd, the chassis, the tub spinning around, flames. Salt Walter was inside that. It was an absolute and total miracle that a man could survive it. But he did, and he's back racing again. One of the most awesome sights that I've ever seen in any sports event, and in particular here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But Walter is back to run again, back to declare himself not afraid.
I can't say I don't have any fears, because obviously everyone in the world would be lying to you. I get nervous when I go out here and run, as anybody else does. You don't want to hurt that badly. You figure maybe a broken leg or something. But the only time I ever really had a flashback was last year. Coming down for the start in Ontario, I was nervous. Then we came here, and coming down for the start, I thought, you have got to be one of the biggest idiots made. I thought, what a jerk. And it really upsets you, but that's the only time it's ever happened. And now I go out there like it's never happened at all. I'm in, I think, tremendous shape. I do an awful lot of bodybuilding, more than weightlifting, but I've got a sauna and a swimming pool, tennis courts, the whole deal, where I try and keep in good shape at my house. And anymore, it doesn't even bother me. In fact, when I saw it before, I thought, that poor guy in there's got to be dead. Because I saw the films, I thought, whew, it's hard for me to really realize that I was in it. But I know when the steering wheel hit me in the chest, when I went up over the fence, it just broke the ribs and it knocks the air out of you. So I was more semi-conscious than totally conscious. So I was fortunate in that respect, and then shock takes over. So I think all in all, I was probably one of the luckiest people in the world. The only thing I get a little upset with is people say, when you're hurt, I was the greatest guy, going, well, the poor guy, gosh darn, he took some knocks. And then you get back up to where you're in good shape, and granted, I'm a show-off. I like big diamonds, and I like those Cadillacs, and I got a nice house. Then they start bad-mouthing you again. I kind of listen to all of it, and I take it with a grain of salt, and I kind of smile, and the stuff I want to hear, I listen to, and what I don't like, I just block it out.
You got to say he's grit in that guy, and here come the siege of pit stops now under the green. It's A.J. Foyt leaving the lead to hit the pits.
You can see the clock running at the bottom there on AJ's pit. He's having a discussion with one of his men, as well as taking a drink, and of course the fuel's being filled up there. AJ Foyt sitting there, and he's gone out in 14.4 seconds, which is a very fast pit stop indeed.
Johnny Rutherford will temporarily assume the lead, but we do know that Johnny must be coming on to the pits very soon. The McLaren that Johnny, who won here a year ago, had its trouble getting up to the kind of speed they wanted during the practice session. They did not achieve their real running speed until after they had qualified. And now we see Johnny Rutherford yielding the lead to come down pit road looking for fuel.
This team are very competent as well. It's run by Tyler Alexander, who's a very experienced American. It's a British-based team. It's a team that's doing very well in Formula One racing nowadays. And here's a car being pushed back. It's Mario Andretti being pushed up the pit wall. I saw him going out there very slowly earlier on as the McLaren is being pulled. Got the fuel tanks being popped up there. And another car, Bobby Unser in the pits, and the blue car number 48, the Dan Gurney car. Everybody's in the pits.
And all under green, so we'll have a shuffling in the standings until all of your front runners are back on the track and the rest of the people start coming in for fuel, and they're all going to have to come in. But it's Mario Andretti right now who's involved in a little bit of an Alphonse Gaston. They get it started, go down to the end of the pit road, then it expires. They have to pull it back. Now it looks like they may have to do that all over again as Rutherford exits the pit in fine style. AJ, of course, is already back on the racetrack and back at racing speed.
I got a tremendous respect for A.J. Foyt. You know, he's not only a designer of this car, he's the builder of it, he's the development engineer, he's the tester, and he's the racing driver. He's the most complete man around this racetrack. A great respect for a man who's not only super competitive, but what a will he's got in every direction. He really brings all his men in that team up to a super high.
And the car is running very well. It has been the fastest of all the cars so far, and here goes the Andretti act again as Mario, once he gets moving away, gets it going, then the confounded thing seems to just quit running on him again. So that would indicate to me something about the ignition, some problem in that particular area, probably. Could be carburation, but I doubt it very much.
Well, he doesn't have to have a great deal of confidence there because he never passes down his visor. He obviously expects it to stop, but I don't know what's happening.
So here he comes back again as he simply cannot get it to running, and A.J. Foyt now is streaking again toward the lead. A.J. Foyt, Johnny Rutherford, Bobby Unser, Wally Dallenbach, and here is Gary Bettenhausen being shoved towards the pit area. Gary Bettenhausen coming in for fuel, and we'll be right back with more. The 59th Indianapolis 500, it's now settled again into a duel between A.J. Foyt, who is leading, and Johnny Rutherford, who's pursuing, followed closely by Bobby Unser. Wally Dallenbach now is running in the number 4 position, followed by Al Unser, car number 4, he's 5th. And Bobby Allison, car number 16, is running 6th. Mike Mosley is 7, and Johnny Parsons is number 8. Mosley and Parsons and the rest of the field at least one lap down right now to the front runners. A.J. Foyt trying to win his 4th Indianapolis 500, as the whole world knows. But you may not remember that the only other 3-time winners were Lewis Meyer, Wilbur Shaw, and Maury Rose.
The Gatorade special there with Rutherford is closing in on A.J. Foyt. They're having a good race now. You're getting the benefit of the drafting down that straight. You can see Rutherford's car really close in behind A.J. He's staying out a little bit, perhaps to get cool air, to keep the temperature down, because it is a warm and humid day here at Indianapolis. But this car is at this time definitely getting the benefit of the slipstream of draft.
Early in the going, the speeds were up around 183 miles an hour, dropping off then to 179, then 174. They're running now about 172 mile an hour average. That is not a track record at this particular point in the race. But you can see that Rutherford has certainly moved close enough. A.J. knows he's there.
Oh yes, A.J. is going to keep a fairly keen eye on him from now on. There's no doubt about that. But going round those corners, the slipstream behind those cars is not pretty to drive in, and Rutherford must be experiencing the sort of turbulence that is set up from the car in front when he's going through a corner.
This is in contrast, perhaps, to NASCAR Grand National Stock Car Racing, where the ride is fairly comfortable and where you can suck in there and save yourself some fuel.
Right, but they're, of course, well-streamlined cars. They're open-wheeled race cars here with the little aerofoils in the front and the bigger aerofoils in the back. It's certainly an untidy air that they're getting back there, and, of course, it's difficult for Johnny Rutherford, not only in turbulence, but also in vision, because he's really low on the racetrack, and there's a car spun.
Mike Hiss, number 94. Mike Hiss has dipped the wall, apparently, and he has spun off the racetrack. Hiss is off the racetrack, and that brings out the yellow for the first time. Turn number 3, and starter Pat Bedan handling the flags at the start-finish line. Puts the yellow out immediately, and all around this 2.5-mile racetrack, yellow lights flicker on, and safety crews immediately bolt to the scene. The scene in this case being Mike Hiss of Tustin, California, driving car number 94, and he has a piece of bad luck. So that will bring everybody back into the pits in a hurry. Here's Foyt streaking down pit road, heading for fuel, heading for tires, and whatever else might be put on the car. The other leaders will be coming on in a hurry. Rutherford is in. Bobby Unser, car number 48, whips into the pits. The first moment that you see yellow out, you'll see those leaders looking for the pits, and let's have another look at Mike Hiss.
The car's obviously gone up and hit the wall. There's pieces going off of the car, too, that looks as if it may have been a mechanical failure of some kind. You can see the metal coming off the car. There's something sliding down on the inside there. The other car's coming along there. They've got to look after that debris as well. As the cars leave the pit, A.J. Foyt has left the pit with Johnny Rutherford just coming up behind them there, Keith.
So the yellow flag will be out for a while as they clean up the racetrack where Mike Hiss had his problem. And while we're waiting for the green and more racing, let us spend a moment with Chris Schenkel.
So the field of 33 cars now is going approximately 100 miles in this hot, humid day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we have 5 cars out of the race, which means, of course, that 28 are running. And poor Lloyd Ruby, you saw that he went out very early because of a burned piston in the 7th lap. Saltwater was the first to go out in the 3rd lap with engine problems. And the man that led the race for 8 laps went only 11, Gordon Johncock, the 1973 winner. And this is the way they stand. A.J. Foyt is on top, seeking his 4th Indianapolis victory. Mike Hiss, the Rookie of the Year right here in 1972, you just saw him hit the wall. He completed a total of 39 laps before that accident. And Larry McCoy out on the 24th lap with another burn piston, number 63. So it's hard luck for 5. 28 are running here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where it's expensive to come to when it comes to machines, to mechanics, pit crews, forms of communication. Here at Indy, for the past few years, they have resorted to electronic equipment between the pit crew and the driver, but the surest means of communication seems to be a simple old blackboard, because this is the best way to inform the driver when they would like to come into the pits. Here's Jackie Stewart with some knowledge about it.
There haven't been many changes at Indy since last year, but however, there is a trend towards using more radios for communicating between the pit crews and the race drivers and vice versa, because these radios that you use can allow the driver to speak back to the crew as well as the crew speaking to the driver. But gladly, the old pit board is still with us, because a lot of racing drivers don't like the idea of being interrupted right in the middle of a corner by the pit crew with some tidbit of information. Now, for you, the viewers, and for the people at the racetrack, looking at these pit signs can be very interesting, because it can give you an insight to what information the driver is getting from his crew chief. If you see an arrow pointing in or to the left, it doesn't mean that it's an insult to the driver's intelligence that he should turn left. It means that he should come into the pits. If, on the other hand, you see an arrow pointing right or out, it doesn't mean to say he should climb the pit wall or the outside wall. It means that he should stay out on the racetrack for at least another lap. If you see a +3 or 4, this perhaps would mean +3 seconds or 4 seconds on the car behind, or a -1 or 2 means a minus on the leader or the car in front. If you see other signs like hustle, well, this means that, of course, the driver should put a bit of pressure on, go as fast as he can. If you see one that says ease or easy, it means that the driver should conserve his car and go, of course, a little bit canny. Now, pit boards are important from a race driver's point of view to view, because he must pay attention. And if you're coming in for fuel, the pit might give you a sign pit 5. This means come into the pits in 5 laps time, or 3 or 2 or 1 or whatever. From a racing driver's point of view, he's got to look very carefully, because in my last ever Grand Prix, I remember, we misinterpreted the pit signals. I came into the pits and found that my pit was already fully congested with other cars, and the hassle to get back out, I ran over 2 of my mechanics and unfortunately missed Ken Tittle, who was my crew chief. So it shows you the best laid plans of mice and men can still go amiss.
Aye, we shall try to remember that. All right, under the yellow, the leadership remains the same, and only one driver changed so far, with Saltwater replacing Bob Harkey in car number 33, and we'll be right back. A.J. Voigt continues to lead the Indianapolis 500, followed by Johnny Rutherford, Wally Dallenbach, moving ever so slowly but ever so surely into a challenging position. Then you have Bobby Unser, and you have Mike Mosley, number 12, who has moved in there, and of course the legend of Mike Mosley. 4 times in 2 years he tangled with the wall in the 4th turn. On 2 occasions, once while leading, he lost a wheel up in that 4th turn and expired from the race. And each time Mike was slightly injured. But so far today, everything's gone well for him. The question, of course, is can anybody catch the big guy from Houston, Texas? Johnny Rutherford from Fort Worth thinks he can, and certainly that fellow who used to live in New Brunswick, New Jersey, Wally Dallenbach, who's moved to the country in Basalt, Colorado. After Wally had qualified, he immediately went home. Said he had to help his wife put down a garden, otherwise she'd wear a hoe handle out on him, and the way he went to do is farming. Now he's come back to run. Speaking of wives, there's a beauty, Betty Rutherford. Kind, gentle lady, but very much involved in what's going on here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. She is at her husband's side everywhere you see Johnny Rutherford. And she certainly is part of the sufficient pit crew as she charts the laps, the time, and so forth. Jackie Stewart talked with Johnny Rutherford about his wife.
Betty probably has done more to help me rehabilitate after the accident, given me the rock to cling to, so to speak. She's been fantastic, and without her, it would have been very, very tough. You know, you need the support and the backing that only your wife or someone very close can give you. And she has been my rock to cling to, so to speak. And
And like I say, without her, it would have been a lot tougher.
The accident to which Johnny Rutherford referred, 1966, Eldora racetrack sprint car. Flip broke both arms, if you can believe that. Now the lapping continues as Foyt, Rutherford, and Dallenbach are all beginning to move through the field, and Bobby Unser lurking right back there behind them in the Jorgensen Eagle. And watch Dallenbach moving up alongside of Rutherford. He's got it.
He's gone through. This is a terrific move that he's made all the way through from the back end of the pack. He must be a happy man. And of course that was sort of traffic conditions that allowed that to happen. The lead man usually has a bit of an advantage in traffic, but of course the other guys behind shuffle around a great deal. You can see there, this is the pick crew, that's Taylor Alexander talking to Johnny Rutherford there about what's happening as the cars go into turn one.
Wally Dallenbach, having slipped by Johnny Rutherford for second place, is now taken off after the leader, A.J. Foyt. You got red and red. You got a Coyote Foyt, and you got that Sin Mask Wildcat that George Spignotti has put together with a special kind of an engine. There's the running order at the present time. And again, remember that number 12. And here comes Dallenbach moving up alongside of A.J. Foyt, taking a run for the lead. A.J. slams the door on him.
Yeah, that was not an open route that time. A.J. really closed in on him. Of course, that's the sort of line that a racing driver would take, and that's certainly normal. But I think we're going to look for something here. Wally Dallenbach certainly very hot at the moment. He's very close to A.J. Foyt. He's obviously lining him up for a pass, and of course he'll just take his time to do this because he's certainly come through the field at a remarkable pace. Great compliment to this driver to have come up this quick into a leading position.
Dallenbach sitting right behind A.J. Foyt. He won the 1973 California 500 for his first major win. Now we look at him and watch those two red cars move around the traffic. He almost got on the grass, and it looks like Dallenbach may have it here.
Yeah, he's done it. He's definitely ahead. What a traffic jam that was. He was almost off the racetrack. I thought he was going to be in the grass there for a moment. He certainly was using all of the racetrack, and that's never too good a thing, because over there's a lot of the loose stuff, a lot of the stuff that gets pushed away from the groove, and it's never nice to be on that part of the racetrack.
And as Dallenbach has jumped into the lead of this 59th Indy 500, it may be worth remembering that he ran the second lap a year ago at 191.408 miles an hour. That's the fastest competitive lap ever run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
He's a very mature driver. He's not a young man, but my goodness, he's got a lot of racing miles and a lot of experience behind him.
And he has jumped just like Gordon Johncock did once he got into the front. Perhaps he's slipped a little more boost into the engine to build up a little bit of a cushion, but he has jumped out to a substantial lead over Foyt. And Bobby Unser trying to slide past Johnny Rutherford there as he came quickly through the traffic, apparently getting a little bit of a draft pull there as Bobby slipped suddenly into view, then dropped back just a little bit. Now there's traffic between. That is Jerry Carl driving Smokey Unick Chevrolet powered race car.
Well, he's just getting passed now by Unser, so Unser's back in contention with the other two as we see the number 40 car going through there quite clearly ahead of the rest of them.
And it's interesting, Jackie, to watch these veterans, the old-timers, how they can use the slower traffic, how they can weave their way through and pick off a contender and force him to back off a little bit.
Amongst those drivers who are up there just now, they're all very experienced, and you can see the top drivers using traffic to their advantage. They snooker another driver, they put him into a position where he can't retaliate, and this is the talent of racing, particularly when it's difficult to get past. It's a question of using the racetrack to the best of your ability, and only experience and great maturity allows you to do that at these speeds.
Roger McCluskey driving car number 15, the Silver Force Special, running very well up. Another veteran in the pack there, but well off the pace at this particular time as they move, looking. Watch the blue car, 48. That's Bobby Unser. He pulls outside, comes right inside along of Johnny Rutherford and then ducks right in behind him. And that car coming there is off pit road. And you see the traffic piling up.
There's more to worry about in there, too. Can you imagine the turbulence of the air as these cars cut through the air at up to 220 miles an hour? You can imagine how the air is moving around, Keith. It's not easy on the cars.
And Bobby Unser makes the move, comes up alongside of Johnny Rutherford, gets an inside position, puts his nose in front, and Bobby Unser takes over third place. Johnny Rutherford drops back to the number 4 position on the racetrack. And your leader is Wally Dallenbach with A.J. Foyt second, Bobby Unser now third, and Rutherford fourth. We'll be right back.
This is a good performance by young Tom Sneeva. He's a great young driver. He's one of the drivers I fully expect to be great in the future. But there you're seeing a man who's really been great today, Wally Dollenbach in the number 40 car, that bright red car, really driving tremendously well.
We might make this point that we have a little heavier cloud layer now than we anticipated. The pit sign indicating to Wally that he's leading his closest pursuer for it by 2 seconds, but the clouds have grown heavier. It has not become quite as hot today as it has been in recent days, and that is a break for everybody, particularly those people concerned about the fuel consumption.
Car's going down the back straight away. You can see Dollenbach taking advantage of the draft as he slingshots past it. There's smoke. There's a car spinning. It's Barry Andretti. He looks like he's in a mechanical. He's gone into the wall very hard, deep, right onto the grass.
Mario Andretti on the back straight hits the wall, and he hits on the left side of the car. That's where the fuel tank is located. There's no fuel tank on the right. It's kept on the left because most of the accidents in the past have happened as people have gone to the outside wall. But that time, something happened at the rear of Andretti's car, snapped it around. Mario had no chance. The yellow flag is out. He caroms off the wall, and as you see, walks away, but he's obviously shaken because he must have been traveling in the neighborhood of 190 miles an hour when it happened.
Well, he's having a seat. He's obviously feeling groggy, but I have to compliment tremendously the security people here. The emergency crews really came up. You can see the smoke as he starts to spin. The car goes out of control. It looks like the rear aerofoil is falling off to one side, Keith. Perhaps there's been a mechanical failure in that sense because it's not level. But look at it. Slam the wall. The flame come out from the alcohol fuel. You can't see any flames now because they burn white and clear. Mario Andretti trying to steer the car, but of course one wheel's hard against the wall. But look, he nearly runs into that emergency vehicle that's sitting behind the walls. Car breaking up, but the crew are immediately onto him. Look at that car coming to him for assistance. That is a tremendous compliment to the ambulances and the firefighters and the rescue crews here.
There is a hospital on the grounds, and it's rule of thumb that everybody goes for a checkup. So the yellow flag is out. The fireproof clothing, it protects in a lot of ways. Chris Economaki covered that subject before the race.
The requirements for safety in Indianapolis car racing are high, but there are none for driver comfort. Nick Olala here, a member of the Roger Penske crew, is going to show us what a driver has to wear before he can crawl into the tiny cockpit of an Indianapolis racing car. He already has the long johns, as they're called, on, the long underwear made of flame-proof Nomex nylon, and he's putting the second of a pair of similar-made socks, just to protect the feet against fire. Over the top goes a sweatshirt-like garment made of very heavy Nomex nylon with a turtleneck and long sleeves to protect the upper body should a fire occur. This combination is called the underlayment. Over it all comes a driver's suit made of two-piece material, much like a heavy bedspread, again of flame-proof material to protect the driver in the event a fire should occur. It is a tight-fitting garment with snug anklets and snug wristlets and a very expensive garment running well over $100. Then, on the bottom, are specially made shoes, also of flame retardant material. These from England that go over the feet and then lock over the knitted bottom of the driver's suit so that there's no fire could get in the bottom should a fire occur. On top of it all comes something from the days of wartime many, many years ago, a nylon head covering called a balaclava. This to protect the side of the face. Only room to see is left. Then over it all goes the helmet, a specially made helmet which is built to certain standards, goes on, and with the helmet comes a scarf that would do a cold man some good on a night in Chicago. This is wrapped around the bottom of the helmet and fastened with Velcro to the bottom of the helmet to keep any flames that might erupt from getting into the neck and the top of the driver's suit. Once this scarf is on, it is then tucked into the driver's suit to make an absolutely complete package protecting the driver from flame once his nylon leather palm gloves are put on. From top to bottom, in the tiny confines of today's Indianapolis racing car, where the temperatures are perhaps 50 degrees higher than they are outside, this is the way the driver looks when the green flag calls. Wind rushing over the car is of not much help because of the aerodynamic design of today's racing car. Nick, what's it like in there?
It gets hot very fast, Chris.
We're still under the yellow, and your leader is still Wally Dollenbach. As we resume our coverage of the Indianapolis 500, the leader is Wally Dollenbach, followed by Johnny Rutherford, A.J. Foyt, Bobby Unser, and Tom Sneeva in car number 68. the young man from Sprague, Washington, just outside of Spokane, he is running a lap behind those four front runners. But remaining most impressive are those four veterans, Dallenbach, Rutherford, Foyt, and Unser.
Four men that you would expect to be able to do this kind of job at Indianapolis. They're all super experienced drivers, and this is what it takes at Indianapolis. The average age of the Indy field's around 35 years of age for the drivers, and somehow young drivers never do too well at this super high speedway, because when they get onto the hard surface here at these very high speeds, when they're qualifying, they're averaging up at 190 miles an hour. It takes a special finesse of driving, and this doesn't come easy. It certainly doesn't come with youth and experience. There is no substitute.
Johnny Rutherford is the green car with a number 2 on him, right there in the middle. There is no number 1 in the race this year. First time in a long time that I can ever recall no number 1. That is normally carried by the man who is the USAC National Points Champion. A.J. Foyt now has moved right behind Johnny Rutherford. So those two Texans are continuing their joust.
It's A.J. Foyt now that's got the problem of the airfoil situation, and he's trying to make a pass, and he's made it. He's gone past his slingshot spy on the straight.
Now, in a thing like that, is it a matter of drafting, or did he perhaps reach for a little extra boost?
It could have been that coming off the previous corner, the other car didn't get off quite as cleanly as A.J. did, and he just got a run at him. It could have been a boost, of course, but it certainly was assisted by the slipstreaming or the drafting that takes place.
In the meantime, Wally Dallenbach continues to along, holding a comfortable lead, and again we bring up the subject of fuel consumption. Is Wally running it at the conservative level? Remember, he's got to average at least 1.8 miles per gallon in order to run 500 miles, and let's pursue the subject a little bit more as Chris Economaki makes his way over to George Bignotti.
George, some of your competition down pit road is of the opinion that you're burning more fuel than you'll have for the rest of the race. I noticed you gave Wally the boost sign. Was that to bring it down?
Yeah, we go up and down with the boost whenever we feel we need it, and they won't find out how much fuel we got till the race is over.
You say that everything is okay and you're going to make it.
We're very happy.
Okay, George Bignotti refusing to admit that they're making any mistakes in the fuel department.
George right now having only one car to worry with. He started 2. Gordon Johncock long since left us. Now he's watching his man lead the field. A.J. Foyt right there. Always in the shadow, it seems, of a leader, if he's not in front himself, as they come down off turn number 2 and work their way through the back straight.
A.J. Foyt, by the way, had George Bignotti as his mechanic a good few years ago. Bignotti is one of the most experienced top mechanics here at Indianapolis. I think he's won something like 6 races here at Indianapolis. This is pretty good knowledge to be able to do this. I raced with George Bignotti in 1966 and 67, and you can see Rutherford sneaking in there while lapping another car. That was a pretty tight move in that corner.
Now you can see they all pretty much hold the same line. There's no real pressure on anybody at the moment. With Dallenbach, Foyt, and Rutherford and Unser, those 4 cars are in the same lap. And again, let me say to you, the clouds have grown heavy. The humidity is oppressive, but it is not as hot as everybody anticipated.
Indianapolis in days like this is tremendously important. Some of those cars have got adjustable suspension from the cockpit. That car you're looking at right there has an adjustable rear roll bar. The driver can change the handling characteristics as he goes round the racetrack. Johnny Rutherford, if the car starts to push a little, which means understeering, that's to say when the car gets turned into the corner, it doesn't bite so much. It doesn't actually go where the driver wants it. It tends to push the car forward and go out towards the wall. If he finds that that's happening, he can adjust it from inside the car to try and get that car to grip a little better and change its characteristics of handling.
Of course, the vernacular that is used around racing tracks varies from category to category, and it takes you a little while to get acquainted with it. If you've heard the word stagger, it doesn't mean that someone is doing it literally. It applies to the automobile. You hear a lot of people talking about it. That has to do with the tires and the way in which the automobile, the chassis, is balanced. And Bobby Unser now beginning to creep in on Johnny Rutherford. Car number 2 is Rutherford, the green and white, and Unser is in the blue. It is a McLaren and an Eagle. And there is a very anxious man waiting on the side of the racetrack as his man, Bobby Unser, pulls out. Dan Gurney watching Gurney jumping up and down as Unser is not able to get by Johnny Rutherford on the turn. Dan Gurney, who has become, over the years, literally a historic figure as far as American automobile racing is concerned. He broke out of the pack and went off to Europe and did well, and this is his car, this is his driver, and Bobby Unser goes by Johnny Rutherford and takes over third place.
Johnny Rutherford looked like he was having a bit of a problem coming off of that corner there, because he certainly wasn't in the groove and he certainly wasn't going as fast as he would like to, and it seems that to me that the Eagle caught him just a bit too fast, and I think there's something wrong there with Johnny Rutherford's car. I can't imagine what it is, but it looks like Bobby Unser's not having any trouble.
Conceivable that Johnny just was getting a little hot. Maybe he backed off. Again, you have to be most conscious of the heat gauges, particularly when you are limited in your fuel situation. Never forget it. Certainly they can't along pit road. Mario Andretti, out of the race, has made his way back to pit road, and here is Sam Posey to talk with him.
Mario Andretti in the pits. Mario, it hardly seems possible that we're here in the pits again at Indianapolis, that you're not on the track. What's happened this year?
Well, something broke on the car in the backstretch, and just went into a spin about 190 miles an hour. We don't know exactly what happened, but obviously the car just did some crazy things there while it was in a straight line.
Did you hit anything?
I certainly did. Finally, I gyrated. I did a couple of 360s, and then finally hit the wall on the inside, just about into the third turn.
How do you feel now?
Well, physically, I'm all right.
And we're all certainly happy to hear that. Now here is A.J. Foyt again moving up in traffic. He's trying to get by Bill Peterbaugh. Bill wouldn't let him. Bill Peterbaugh is 38 years of age. He's going to be listed in your program as a rookie, but he certainly had his fair share of experience, and he nips off A.J., refusing to let him to go down and assume the groove. And Peterbaugh right now is running in the number 10 position, so he's in pretty good shape. But your leader right now is Wally Dallenbach. Foyt, Unser, Rutherford, and Sneva in that order. Car number 16, Bobby Allison, stopped. Allison out of the car. So, one of the greats from NASCAR Grand National Stock Car Racing leaves the field. And let's set the runners as Dallenbach continues to lead with Foyt in second, Bobby Unser third, Johnny Rutherford in fourth. Only 4 cars in the same lap, but what 4 cars? Number 68, Tom Sneva, is running in the number 5 position at the moment, but he is 2 laps behind the 4 front runners. And right now, things are quite comfortable for those 4.
The great thing about motor racing, one never really knows the moment. You know, I've seen so many motor races that I've personally been in. You're in a fairly comfortable situation. You're trying to feel your motor car. During laps like this, when there's nobody pushing you, the driver's feeling for any little vibrations, anything that he can feel in his car, to be sure that he treats it gently.
All of these people should be about due for a pit stop pretty soon. Running in the number 6 position right now, it's Johnny Parsons. Running 7th, it is George Snyder out of Bakersfield, California. Car number 36 is Sammy Sessions. He's 8th. Running 9th right now is Pancho Carter in car number 11. And here comes your leader, Wally Dallenbach down pit road looking for a gas tank.
Yeah, we'll have to have a look and see how quickly he gets out here, because this pit crew that he's got, we've got the clock running. You remember when we saw the pit demonstration, they got them out at 18.1 seconds. Now the adrenaline is running in the pits. These people are working under considerable pressure as the race takes place, and here we see the other car coming in, and look, he's gone out in 14.8 seconds.
Very good pit stop for Wally Dallenbach. Here's Johnny Rutherford now as Teddy Mayer stands, directs the crew. Tyler Alexander is swarm all over that McLaren to put new shoes on it and fill it up with tank. 5 men allowed over the pit wall to work on the car. That's all, just 5. We mentioned Pancho Carter. Remember the story we gave earlier that Pancho Carter's car was just almost destroyed in carburation test last Thursday as A.J. Foyt has gone into the lead with the other people coming into the pits. So Foyt has the lead, but Carter's car had never been run until it rolled off the starting line following the accident, and he has moved it up to the number 9 position. And He is quite something, only 24 years of age. His dad, Wayne Carter Sr., is quite a driver, and he's running right there in front of A.J. Foyt in that black and white number 11. So your order now after those pit stops are Foyt, Bobby Unser, Wally Dallenbach, and Johnny Rutherford. Salt Walther is struggling now with car number 33 in the pit. So Salt is having his troubles as your leader is A.J. Foyt. The tough Texan. Is he tough? Well, let's listen to an earlier comment with Jackie.
AJ, you're a hard man on the racetrack. Everybody looks at you and everybody thinks of a racing driver as a hard man. They think they're made of stone. But is AJ a warm man or is he indeed a hard man?
Well, I don't think I'm a hard man. A lot of people play it up that I'm hard to get along with and things like this. I do have a lot of things on my mind, you know, when I'm in Houston to my ranch or my dealership or what have you. But I've always given the fellow driver, I've lent them engines before, like 2 years ago. They ran fourth here. I lent Dick Simon an engine, I think, 3 years ago that almost bumped me out of the race here. And I've always really been trying to always be fair with all my racing competition, just do everything I possibly could for them.
Now, away from motor racing and away from your dealership and your other businesses, how does A.J. Foyt relax? How do you get away from it all?
Well, right now, Jackie, you know, I've bought some race horses, and since I have my ranch, I enjoy going to the ranch and clearing property and working out on my bulldozers, and I just really enjoy the horse racing game. That I've got some thoroughbreds and quarter horses, and it's very intriguing, and I've had a lot of fun with it. It's kind of expensive, and I hope they start running it about like I do, but that's about the only relaxation I've had, and I've just started that.
Your family obviously still plays an important part in your life. You've got them all up here. It looks like a clan gathering in Scotland. You obviously spend a lot of time with them.
I really do. I spend as much time as I possibly can. I'm on the road an awful lot, and I really wasn't with my children as much as probably most fathers should be as they grow up, because I've always been gone. You know, I've been racing all over the country about like you have, and I just maybe hadn't been the father I really should have to my children, because I've had to be on the road so much.
That is a constant complaint, I think, of men involved in vigorous activities in this era. Car number 14 is due for a pit stop pretty soon, and I might include those of us in this business among those who perhaps are negligent in the time we spend with our own. But A.J. Foyt has to be at this point, Jackie, thinking about a pit stop.
Yes, A.J. Foyt must be getting ready for one. He's making his way through the traffic. Look how he uses the road there. And the car behind him, of course, is car number 48, is Bobby Unser. Really shadowing him all the way, the Dan Gurney car, and there you can see the pit sign, pit 1. That means he's 1 lap to go before he comes into the pits. So Bobby Unser is preparing to come into the pits, and Dan Gurney, the man who's been loved all over the world, you know, a great ambassador for your American motor racing, the man who enters that car there, has come to Europe, has won Grand Prix, is loved by us in Europe, as well as the many, many thousands of people here in Indianapolis.
I'll tell you one thing, when that pit sign goes up, you have to be aware of it in this era, because we have in the immediate past many instances where people have misread the pit sign or not picked it up in time and run out of fuel, and here's A.J. slowing way down.
Oh dear, if this is a problem, I'll be really upset, because A.J.'s been having a real go at winning his 4th Indy, and this could be the end of it. You might be seeing something very sad for A.J. Foyt. He's obviously in trouble, Keith.
He's coming around. I don't believe that he has power. I don't believe that he has power. He appears to be coasting, and he's got a long way to go, and he has put his hand up. That indicates to the rest of the people going by and that he is at the moment without power.
Yeah, but he's doing something with his hand up there. He's obviously working with something. Keith, it looks like he's working with something. I wonder if he could be low in fuel. This may be a problem with A.J. Foyt. He's got his hand up. It could be he's manipulating something.
He looks to be pulling at the padding at the back of the cockpit. So apparently there's something loose in there or something wrong. But anyway, he is without power at the moment.
He's picked up. He's picked up a little bit. I think I saw him accelerating just a tiny bit, but we've got Bobby Unser in the pits there.
Bobby Unser getting the treatment in the pits, and that moves Wally Dallenbach back into the lead. Car number 40. The Bignotti Sinmast Wildcat is back in the lead on the racetrack, and if Bobby Unser can get out in a hurry, he's going to hold on to second place. Here's A.J. Foyt now rolling. He apparently got power back, but he was without power for a time coming around. So A.J. comes coasting into the pits, and let's see what they do to the car. There's the fuel hose.
I think that's the only thing that's really mattered. I think it's been fuel. It looks like it could have been. He's refueling his own system there with a drink, as you can see. It's not looking like a hurried pit stop, but he's certainly being fueled up.
So Wally Dallenbach has the lead, running right there behind Bill Vukovic. Bobby Unser is second, and Johnny Rutherford runs third, and A.J. struggling. All right, we're back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the leader is Wally Dallenbach. And we have now come to the point of the race where the anticipation that was so vibrant at the beginning paled for a time. Now it's beginning to build again, because it is not that far from now that we'll be talking about the man who might win it. Here's where a lot of people start holding their breath. Bobby Unser sitting in a challenging position in second. Johnny Rutherford, A.J. Foyt having that problem, and now we have it pretty much confirmed that A.J. just ran out of fuel. He's also having some trouble apparently with some padding in the cockpit. He disdained repair of that, figuring he's a tough enough man under these circumstances to hang on to it. Gary Grant in the Spirit of Orange County. Car number 73 that has a lot of support from Santa Ana College is rolling into pit road. It looks like he too may be out of fuel. Now here we come down with A.J. Foyt beginning to move through traffic, and he's running in behind Tom Sneva. Eldon Rasmussen, number 58, is in the yellow car coming around turn number 2. And oh, we've got an axe! Sneva! He's on the wall. He goes into a terrible slip, and we have a fire. The engine is ripped off the back of the car and comes tumbling across. A.J. Foyt was right behind him. He was able to avoid it somehow. But Tom Sneva is in the car. He's moving around. He's trying to get out. An incredible accident on car number 68, Tom Sneva. There is fire. Sneva can't seem to get out of the car. The fireman is there, spraying it down. Question is there fire in the cockpit? But what a spectacular flip. And the fire suit hopefully will protect young Tom Sneva as he struggles to get out of the car. And Jackie, it appears that he is trapped in that car.
Yeah, he is, but he's got lots of help there. They're obviously dousing the fire. You can't see the alcohol flame, of course, but he looks as if he's okay. He's certainly moving around. I don't think I've ever seen a driver move so easily after such a terrible accident. That's one of the most horrifying crashes I've ever seen. To have a driver come out of that, even moving in the way he is. Now look at the replay of the accident. They go into the turn together. As they go into turn 1 there, you can see they're going even, going into turn 2 even. As they go through there together, somehow they touch. Now you see Sneva in the blue car low down, and he actually goes into what I would call a classic open wheel racing car action. It climbs over the front wheel of the yellow car, of Rasmussen's car. This is the type of accident that can occur. It seems to me that Tom Sneva was in the inside line. Rasmussen stayed parallel with him, but look at that car slam against the wall, burst into flame, the car disintegrating as it goes through. The suites there, the people getting close to the accident, the wheels are coming off, the engine is ripped off completely. What an accident. It looked to me as if these two cars tried to go through turn 2 together. I don't think it was Tom Sneva's fault, but I can't honestly say that it was Rasmussen's fault either. The yellow flag is out, but it looks to me as if it was just a standard motor racing accident. They're still getting Tom out. He's standing up, Keith. That's a miracle to me.
Incredible.
What a lucky young man this is. He's walking.
We know there has been fire around him. How much he may be burned, we don't know, but he is at the moment moving, at least partially under his own power, and he will be moved with great dispatch to the hospital.
Well, you know, I think he's wise looking at this race from turn 2. This must have been a horrifying sight for all of the people who so closely connected with that accident, but young Tom Sneva is okay, and we can only thank God for that.
Now with the yellow out. Now with the yellow out, everybody hits the pits. There's Bobby Unser jumping in for fuel. Fuel, again, let me say, is the critical thing. So while we have the yellow out and we know that Tom Sneva is well enough, let's spend a moment with Chris.
Leader Wally Dallenbach has just made his 6th pit stop. His competition up and down pit road insists that the car is burning more fuel than it has for the entire 500 miles. Crew chief George McNulty says that's not the case, that he knows his business. Yet here, the crew has covered up the sight gauge on the fuel tank so that the competition cannot see how much fuel is left, whether they have enough or whether they are really burning too much. The story really here is fuel. They've been huddling with their computers and figuring very closely. The yellow flag we're on at the moment is a break for Wally Dallenbach.
All right, Chris, now let's move down with Sam Posey and check the McLaren pit.
Harry, the
word is that George Bignotti has just covered over his fuel gauge, the sight glass, with a rag. He doesn't want anyone to know now how much fuel he's running. What do you think of this?
Well, I think it's an excellent tactic. It's a good idea. Whether it'll pay off or not, we'll find out at the end of the race, of course. Perhaps he's in trouble. We're all right still.
Okay, and but do you think this yellow flag situation might help him? I think he's been running rather hard.
It'll help everybody, of course, very much. And the longer it lasts, the more it'll help. And that'll mean a better race at the end of the race.
Okay, and as for the McLaren pit, it's candor all the way down here, right? We can see how much gas you've got left.
If you like, you can look.
Eldon Rasmussen being towed in, and of course Teddy Mayer is the pit boss for Johnny Rutherford, the boss of that team. And Eldon Rasmussen apparently he stopped over there to try to help, I believe, and there is the wreckage of Tom Sneva's car. Incredible. The yellow is still out. Let's spend the moment with Chris Schenkel.
It's an awful-looking sight, wasn't it? In the background, you see a tremendous number of cars parked in the infield here at the vast Indianapolis Motor Speedway, covering nearly 600 acres. There are many unique things here at the Indianapolis Speedway as we look at the standings now at this point of the Indianapolis 500, such as 27 holes of golf, 9 within the infield itself, 18 without, and all a part of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As Wally Dallenbach has the lead, you see Bobby Unser, who has driven a very conservative, very well-paced race in second. Johnny Rutherford, last year's winner, is in third. A.J. Foyt, who was the leader, is now racing fourth, and there you see that George Snyder is running fifth.
And we come back to the action on the racetrack now as Bobby Unser, car number 48, comes wheeling around. I might point out that A.J. Foyt is a lap down, running in the number 4 position right now. Let's spend a moment now with the young man out of it, Johnny Parsons.
I'm with Johnny Parsons, who's had a brilliant drive up into 5th place in this race. But something's gone wrong. What was it, Johnny?
Sam had jumped out of gear on me coming off the second corner, and it overrevved, and gearbox broke. I couldn't get back in the gearbox in any gear. It just put me out. Car was handling great. We were running laps 185 in a race, and like you said, we were running 5th. I know I could have done better than that if I could only just finish. I've got a problem about finishing a race, and maybe if I ever finish it, I'm going to be right in there.
Incidentally, to update on Tom Sneva, he was conscious as he was taken by ambulance to the hospital. He does have, we understand, some what appears to be minor burns, but we will confirm his condition as the time wears on. But we do know that he was in conversation with those who extracted him from the wreckage of his car. That does not mean Gordy Johncock. That's an indication to Wally Dallenbach, who's working out of the same pit crew. Gordy Johncock has long since been gone from the Bignotti team as he ran into bad luck very early. But Bobby Unser now begins to appear a rather ominous figure for those who have been running up in front. Bobby has not spent any time up there so far today, but he's certainly very evident. And here is A.J. Foyt ducking into the pits, indicating to his crew what he wants. And as he stops it, that will put him 2 laps down to the leaders.
That's an awful lot at this time of the race. I wouldn't like to be in that position right now. 2 laps is a lot of ground to catch up. A.J. Foyt in the pit. You can see the clock running. He's just past the 13th second as he's pushed away. 13.3 seconds, and very fast himself indeed. Remember, these mechanics are having to work with hot equipment straight off the racetrack. A.J. Foyt cruise back on the track.
And don't forget the man from Basalt, Colorado, Wally Dallenbach, number 40. He leads it with Bobby Unser and Johnny Rutherford, the defending champion. And Johnny Rutherford certainly not turning it loose. And Bobby Unser now is looking for the gas and tire stop as he comes down pit road.
They've got to keep these engines running as they come down. The driver must keep the engine running. If the engine stalls in any way, of course, this can cost time, and an engine doesn't always start too easily when it's so hot. The clock again on the Eagle pit, the Dan Gurney pit, the Jorgensen Eagle being worked on there. You can see the front left-hand wheel being changed, and he's taken a little bit longer, 16.5 seconds. A.J. Foyt took 3 seconds on that.
But that is still using your time economically. 3 cars in the same lap. It is Dallenbach and Unser and Rutherford. Foyt 2 laps down, followed by George Snyder 5 down. Then comes Sam Sessions and Pancho Carter. And Carter still very much in the hunt. And now George Snyder has ducked into the pits. He'll get tires and fuel, and we'll continue in a moment. We have 3 cars running in the same lap. here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Number 40, Wally Dallenbach, slowing down, heading down pit road. Perhaps that's not exactly the place to be slowing down if you're looking for a pit stop. Uh-oh! The smoke coming out. He is going into the back straight. He is a long way away from the pits. Just first glance, I thought perhaps he was on a different turn, but no, indeed, Wally Dallenbach is in trouble.
As he passed the main grandstand here, I heard the car going off some. It looks as if it almost burst, actually, just below us here. The car is smoking now. I'm afraid this is a very ominous situation. What a disappointment for the man who's led this race so convincingly. He's in the pit lane now. He's still driving the car down. But that smoke coming out, it's really a messy-looking engine to me.
And you know what? That will give the lead to Johnny Rutherford. And a lot of people thought that Johnny from Fort Worth might be a man who could win it for a second time. He's in the lead right now as Dallenbach comes coasting down into his pit area. And we'll watch the examination. He indicates rather disgustedly toward the back of the car. Looks like it's over.
Yeah, the mechanics are not just looking at it the way I'd like to see my mechanics looking at any car. The leisurely attitude they've got, I'm afraid it's with disappointment.
Oh, it must be heart-rending for everybody to have it in hand and then suddenly have it trickle away like that. That's the rub of the game, the rub of the dream. Big round of applause building up from the grandstand along pit road as Wally Dallenbach has driven an outstanding race, now expired. His car gives up.
Well, from a racing driver, look at him waving to the crowd there. His emotions, he hasn't fully realized the total disappointment. I think by tonight it's going to be even worse. But for Wally Dallenbach now, he knows he's led the Indy 500. He knows he's dominated the race. It's a horrible disappointment, but sadly the full realization of this, his life experience, will not come even tonight. Perhaps it will come most tomorrow morning.
But while spirits sag in one place, they go up in another. And they will certainly zoom now for Johnny Rutherford and the McLaren people as the Gatorade McLaren assuming the lead, but now he too must come to the pits. It is time for fuel. And as he comes into the pits, that will give the lead to Bobby Unser. There is Betty Rutherford, wife of the driver Johnny, as he brings it in. She starts the clock. Time is so precious as the five men come bolting over the wall and work furiously to get the gas into the tank. The tires change. They go inside and outside this time. And out on the racetrack, it is number 48, wheeling along the Jorgensen Eagle, being driven by Bobby Unser. It is not a particularly quick pit stop, but they did a lot of work in 20-plus seconds.
Yes, and it's been taken well note of by Betty Rutherford there in the pit. You can see she's looking at that.
And A.J. Ford should have unlapped himself during that process of pit stop, so there would be your standings. Now let's join Wally Dallenbach.
Wally, it had to be one of the tough ones again. What was the trouble?
Well, everything was just beautiful. We just knew we were going to win it. The left rear tire went flat. We picked up some debris when we had to go in the grass on the second turn. And when the tire went flat, I had to let off on it too much in the turns and then leaned her down and burned the piston again. As long as I could race, it would have never stopped running.
What do you feel inside, Wally?
Very empty and very disappointed for a lot of people that were rooting for me, and I thought really and truly all month long I had this one in the bag.
Did you know that Pepe's seat is smack dab in the center of victory lane?
Yeah. Well, I'll be back next year. I'm not going to rest until it's mine.
That's the way, Wally. Wally Dallenbach, one of the great ones here.
All right, Chris Economaki, thank you very much. Here's Al Unser in the pits. Al has not been among the front runners today. He has run a steady race. And the way things can swing and change, the fortunes can ebb and flow, you never know, do you? Bobby Unser has the lead right now as his brother Al sits in the pits. Johnny Rutherford is running in second place, and A.J. Foyt is now third, and they're all in the same lap. And again, I'll remind you that there are some very heavy clouds hanging on the horizon. This time of the year in this part of the country, you never know when you're going to get that flash of lightning and a roll of thunder, and here can come the rain so quickly. But we do have an official race.
That, of course, is being looked after by the crew chiefs as well. They must be aware of the weather, and they must consider this. because if there's any threat of rain, they've got to work the race strategy around that situation, because if the rain were to come at the wrong moment while they were in the pits, this could lose them the motor race.
And again, I want to mention Pancho Carter, Dwayne Carter Jr. He has moved well up, and there is a man who's deep in figure. Oh, he's got on the front straight. That is Gary Bettenhausen has lost the rear wheel, and look at him do the job of driving. Holy smokes, how in the world did he hold it?
Well, that car's only running in 3 wheels. My goodness, it was steering. You see, it's not properly steering because one wheel's popped up in the air. It's really a tremendous job he's done.
Round of applause building for Bettenhausen for a magnificent piece of work in keeping that car away from everybody else. Gary injured his left arm a year ago in July in Syracuse in a sprint car. That brings out the yellow. Unser ducks in. There were some people who questioned whether or not Gary could control a car with that weakened left arm, but I think that proves the point unequivocally. He handled it masterfully, and the debris now being swept off the track just as quickly as possible. And there is a very disappointed Gary Bettenhausen, who's become a gentleman farmer down in Monrovia, Indiana. Johnny Rutherford exercising the yellow to jump into the pits and take on fuel.
Well, that was a bad scene there for the Bettenhausen young man, because the car was leaping along there like a bronco. Look at it now as we can see it in slow motion. The rear wheel is thrown off. The tire is shredded while it's been coming off. Then it heads into the wall. Now look at the car starting to lurch. It's almost like a speedboat in water. It's going over the wake there. It's beginning to roll as it does it. He gets it close to the wall so that if it does point in, at least it's not going to hit the wall at a bad angle. He touches the wall. He comes away from it. Look at it as if it's an aeroplane landing. You can see the wheel touching down there from time to time as it goes through the tire. Sooner or later that tire will pop as well. No tire can put up with this, but he is controlling the car. He's really fighting with it. He doesn't want the car to turn drastically into the wall. Look at him trying to feed the car back into the wall again. Obviously keeping it close. Now he's heading for the infield. Look at the tire touching down. It's almost like a boat in the water. You can see there's no rear wheel there on the left of your picture. What a lovely job he did. He obviously was fighting all the way.
And he did not hit the wall to start the accident. It just simply sheared off. Something gave, and under the pressure of coming off the turn, that right rear wheel apparently just sheared off, and there is Tom Bigelow's number 17 being wheeled down pit road and taken out of the race. So the veteran from Whitewater, Wisconsin is gone from the race as well. And we have a pit fire. There is a fire down at Dick Simon's pit area. From Sandy, Utah, Dick Simon, who wept when he qualified for the start of this Indy 500. But he's hanging in there. They get the fire out, and we'll be right back with more. All right, let's pick up Bobby Unser now as we resume our coverage of the Indianapolis 500, and Bobby ducking into the pits. I think it's going to rain, and Unser pops in there, gets just a little bit of fuel, just topping off the tanks. Very hazardous, well, a dangerous decision, it seems to me. Now, there's Boyd. If he gets by him, he can't pass him under the yellow. I don't believe that he's going to have to back up and let A.J. reassume his position. He'll have to slow down as Boyd comes on up and goes by him. Now they're in the proper perspective insofar as the race is concerned. So, with the yellow on, Bobby Unser ducking in. It's very blustery now, and that big cloud that's been hovering within view for some time has again moved very ominously close, and I think we're going to get some rain. Look at that story about Pancho Carter sitting in the number 4 position. He started today in a car that he had not been in since he wrecked it. Gary Bond, his crew, they didn't go to bed between Thursday and this morning, and there is that rain.
Oh, and it's very heavy, Keith. It's almost thunder rain. It's going to absolutely flood the racetrack. Look at everybody running, but look how heavy the rain is. What are these cars going to do in this sort of rain?
They're going to start slipping and sliding. It is a cloudburst. An old-fashioned Midwest thunderstorm has hit with fury here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Remember, these cars have got slick tires on. They're not supposed to run in the rain. These cars can aquaplane at even about 20 miles an hour. You can see the starter, Pat Bidan, there. He's got the checkered flag in his hand.
All right, let's check the standings now. It becomes vital. Who's leading? It is Bobby Unser who has the lead. Johnny Rutherford is second. They're just barely moving along. They're beginning to hydroplane. They're throwing up a rooster tail. A.J. Foyt is running in third. Pancho Carter is 4. Roger McCluskey 5. Bill Pudebaugh 6. And George Snyder is 7. They're wobbling all over the place. There comes Unser and Foyt coming along. A.J. is a lap down, almost a lap down to Bobby. Bobby Unser in and the blue car on the right is the leader as they work their way so very carefully. At this point, however, remember, Bobby Unser must be very careful because if he slides off the racetrack, he could still lose this race to Johnny Rutherford, who is feeling his way around. It's like walking on grease.
Remember, these drivers are not used to driving in the rain, and the cars are certainly not set up. I've driven in the rain, of course, a lot of times because in Europe we do drive in the rain, but there we have tires. And there's cars all over the place. I just thought that with the aquaplaning and the amount of water on the road, cars are spinning, and look at this car.
That's Billy Vukovich.
Billy Vukovich trying to control it. He's heading for the infield. Oh, he's got up on the fence, and he's driving it away.
The red flag is out. The race is stopped. The checkered flag is out. Back of the van, stopping the race. There's Johnny Rutherford. He's running in second place.
Impossible conditions for these drivers. Look at that. It's almost fog. And the car's reversing down the front straightaway.
You can't see it, perhaps, but Bobby Unser coasting through the crowd there. There were 4 cars tangled up, and coming off that fourth turn, A.J. Ford coming along. He's going to be third, and there's your winner, car number 48. Bobby Unser wins on a driving rainstorm here at Indianapolis. Well, this is the site of the unexpected. It has been so many times. But here comes Bobby Unser and A.J. Ford, and Unser is the winner. Here's the man that put him there, Dan Gurney.
Dan Gurney, your car's just won the race. That's terrific, isn't it? Bobby Unser, you've just been trying to talk to him on the mic. He's out there somewhere. No, he's okay. He said, is that it? I said, you bet it is. That's fantastic. This is your first win as a team and Bobby's second win.
Oh, we're certainly proud.
So there is your winner, cruising around, accepting the plaudits of the crowd, and Bobby's going to take his parade lap. He doesn't care if he has to get an oar to get that thing around, but he's going to enjoy it. Let's have another look at the escapade of Billy Vukovich coming out of turn 4.
Well, that car got loose there, only in the water with aquaplaning. As I said before, there's no tread in these tires. They are slick tires. This is what they're intended, but Billy Vukovich is reversing fast. And look at that man avoiding him there. He slams into the fence. He almost springs back on, and he did drive the car back.
Yes, he did. Cars involved up there included Vukovich, Jimmy Carruthers, Bentley Warren, and Mike Mosley. But there's the final results. Bobby Unser, the winner for a second time. He won it first in 1968. Johnny Rutherford, defending champion, finishes in second place. A.J. Ford takes third. So A.J. is denied the opportunity to win his 4th Indianapolis 500. Pancho Carter, with a remarkable ride, will take 4th place, and Roger McCluskey will move into the number 5 position. So here comes your victor, splashing down toward victory lane. I have never in my life seen this kind of an end to an Indy 500. There's your winner, Bobby Unser. We'll be back. Well, there's the celebration in Victory Lane as Albuquerque Robert wins it for a second time. You know, there are now 4 Indy victories in the Unser family. Al Unser won it in 70 and 71, Bobby winning it in 68, and now again here in 1975. He doesn't care if it's raining, it could be snowing. He is filled with the warmth of victory, and what a victory it is for Dan Gurney, because the economic crush has come along and certainly severely crimped the style of some of the people in a very expensive racing profession. But this is a great moment for Dan Gurney.
I'm very happy for Dan because he's so loved around the world. As I said earlier, he's been a great ambassador, and to win the Indy 500 must be really a dream come true for him. A great race, but what conditions?
Oh, they flagged the race now rather decisively. Quickly. It is official, of course, if you go 1 lap past the halfway point. It's possible this thunderstorm could drift on over and they might have time to race later.
No, I think that would have been a wrong decision. I think they've done the right thing right now. I think they've stopped the motor race. These conditions were so bad. These cars and tires are not suited for this kind of racing. They could have had serious accidents. They could have had fatalities over the head of it. I think the officials have done the right thing.
And they've run the race very well. All of the elements of safety that have been so carefully constructed over the years performed brilliantly here today. And the winner is Bobby Unser.
Yes, I think one of the things that must be complimented are the emergency crews, because, my goodness, didn't they deal with these accidents quickly? Mario Andretti's accident, the Ton Sneve accident, all of those things were dealt with great efficiency, and we need that because these racing drivers must be protected when they are in such volatile conditions.
Well, while we're passing out plaudits, let us congratulate the winner, Bobby Unser, Dan Gurney, and all of their people. And let's go to Victory Lane.
Bobby, congratulations. A little messy for you.
Well, it was not messy till the rain came, but I hate to say it, but I kind of welcomed it right about the...
What about that stop in the rain? Wasn't that quite a gamble?
Well, yes, we were far enough to head down. Dan was calculating that and coming across to me on my radios and telling me exactly what was happening. And I said, well, I didn't know the rain was for sure, and I just felt that I had to take a chance on it. We came in awfully quick, and I just couldn't be sure that the rain was going to go, and I knew that if Johnny stayed in and the race went on, that I was going to have to run real hard. So I was going to have a little fuel to run that hard.
Well, Dan, congratulations. It's been a long one to get for you.
Thank you, Chris. We sure love it, and it's not easy to do. We found that out, and we're awfully proud and very proud for our sponsor, the Jorgensen Steel Company.
Okay, Bobby Unser, a two-time winner for the Indy 500, the fourth time an Unser has gone into victory lane in a soaking wet win here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Back to you, Steve.
Okay, and alongside is Chris Economaki. There were 6 cars involved in accidents today during the running of the 500. One announcer. You'll notice the patch on Chris's forehead. What happened?
Oh, I got a little clonk in the pits working around, a couple of stitches.
I know you have a report on Tom Sneva.
I was just down at Methodist Hospital, Chris, and he is suffering from first and second degree burns over 10% of his body, but surprisingly no broken bones. He's being held in the hospital for a 24 to 48-hour observation to see if any of the flames he inhaled caused any internal damage.
Well, we wish him a lot of luck, and of course, Vice President Joe Cloutier, recovering from a heart operation, one of the mainstays of the Speedway and the Holman Company, and we hope you get over your 2-stitch job on your forehead, too, Chris. As 13 cars finished the race, the average speed of 149, and of course, there were many running under the caution light of the yellow flag. So Bobby Unser, who took the lead at the 164th lap, led for a total of 11. And Bobby Unser and Johnny Rutherford have just reversed the positions of last year's race, because it was Unser who finished behind Rutherford just 1 year ago here at the Indianapolis Speedway.
The wet blanket didn't bother Bobby at all.
Now, and of course, we should point out Chris has spent most of the month of May in Indiana, and it rained very little, but today proves that it doesn't rain in Indianapolis, Indiana. So Bobby Unser the winner, Johnny Rutherford second, A.J. Foyt third, Dwayne Carter. That's a great story because he wrecked the car in the last 2 minutes. Roger McCluskey, Bill Puderbaugh, George Snyder, along with Bill Vukovich. Of course, you saw him in the near-tragic accident that he had going up against the fence. So it was an action-filled afternoon here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.